And you young guys gotta be careful of all that, right? You can't be scrolling through that stuff and read it. It's a lot of nonsense. I was on scholarship, I hated playing football. I was on the bench, I was getting hurt. I just knew that I wasn't going to the NFL. So from there, I gave my scholarship back and I really locked in. I joined the radio club. I started DJing in the bars in the area. I started MCing and knowing like this is the route that I'm gonna take. Keith McPherson, McPherson Brand, public speaking. This is actually history in the making. This is the first public speaking engagement that I've ever booked. A young guy reached out by the name of Ariel Beichel, asked if I'd like to come to his high school and speak to the kids. And I said, yeah, of course. I had met with Gary Vee and the guy that runs Vayner Speaks. And he said, if you want to be a public speaker, you got to start public speaking. Basically today, I just want to talk to the kids about these cell phones and how I didn't grow up with a cell phone. I used the cell phone to help make my career and get me to where I wanted to go. And now these phones are getting crazier. These social media apps are getting crazier where you got to really lock in. Here we go. So everybody in here has a cell phone, right? Like every single one of you have one of these. You don't leave the house with it. You all just, could reach into your pocket and take this out. So today is October 9th. What was going on October 7th in New York City? Did anybody see anything in their cell phone about what was going on in New York? Anybody speak up that can fill in the blank of what you saw on your phone? Because I don't think you guys were physically there, but what did you see happen?
I mean, for everyone here at least, it was like we had a holiday, so we weren't allowed to go on our phones at first.
Okay.
Usually. But then right when we were able to, a few hours later, we got a lot of confirmation. Everyone's like, oh, this is real. But at first, no one really knew what was happening.
Yeah, so it was real. There were protests.
Last year?
No, well.
Oh, this year?
Yeah, 2 days ago.
Oh, I think that last year. So.
No, I'm talking about 2 days ago in Union Square in New York City. A friend of mine, my friend Daniel, he's Jewish. He didn't go to work for the holiday, but he also called me and he's like, I was gonna link up with him. We ended up talking over the phone and he's like, bro, I'm not going in the city because I can't stay quiet. You know what I'm saying? I can't see that shit and not want to do something about it. I said, me too. I'm like, bro, I don't go out of the house until the nighttime because I do the radio show. I'll holler at you later. But, what I did see on my phone was a lot of hateful stuff, a lot of anti-Semitic stuff, a lot of misinformation. And you young guys got to be careful of all that, right? You can't let that stuff distract you. You can't be scrolling through that stuff and read it. It's a lot of nonsense. Twitter, X now, is an absolute cesspool. It's trash, it's garbage, it's not right. And if you're distracted by it, it's gonna be in your head. It's gonna stop you from enjoying the Mets game. It's gonna stop you from getting your homework done. And you gotta just find ways to get on your phone and use it for yourself. So the main thing I wanna talk about is how you guys are even aware of me. I'm from Monmouth County. I grew up in the Jersey Shore area. I grew up in a Jewish community. I grew up going to bar mitzvahs, bat mitzvahs. My first girlfriend, Ashley, Jewish girl. I grew up around Jewish people. I've worn, not this hat, but the backwards book, all of that. My first job, I worked at Camp David as a janitor, cleaning up with all Jewish kids around me playing sports and, us breaking bread and I'm sitting there, Baruch Natah, I'm really like that. So, back then there were no cell phones. When I was 16 growing up in a Jewish community, there wasn't all of this misinformation. 20 years later, I'm 36 and I'm seeing all this stuff and I'm concerned about the young people and I'm concerned about the messaging. And I want you guys to know that you can use the phone to build your career. You can use the phone to learn. So when you open up your iPhone and you see all that nonsense, delete the apps. I started doing something I called screen break, right? Spring break, but a play on words, screen break, where I delete all my apps for a weekend or a day, and I just focus on what I need to focus on, right? So me coming up, I needed to focus on learning things, right? We live in an age of information. If you don't know something, you can look it up. How many home runs does Pete Alonso have in the regular season this year? If you don't know it, you can find out in 30 seconds, right? But anything you want to know, you can find out. So use this tool to your advantage and don't let it mess up your brain. So, the next part of what I'm saying is the phones are good and bad, right? We can order food to our house from our phones. You can order clothes. You can be a slave to the convenience of it, but at the same time, you can also be a slave to the negativity, the hate, the nasty comments, and the misinformation. We have artificial intelligence now, where they can alter voices and videos, right? Someone could take my voice, and so you'll know from the future on, right? Someone could say some anti-Semitic stuff with my voice, and you'll know that's not true. I met Keith McPherson. He told me he grew up in Deal, New Jersey, in a Jewish community. He would never say something like that. But people could literally take my voice off the radio, put it into an app, and then write something and have, like, if you guys listen to Tiki Show, they do a bad Tiki, and Tiki says all these things through artificial intelligence. They're altering videos now to like trick people. You gotta be mindful of that type of stuff. You gotta stay away from that stuff and use the internet to your advantage. Like, does anyone in here want to potentially be in sports or on the radio or on TV or, you know, work in that field? You don't have to. I mean, no matter what you want to do, right? If you want to work behind the scenes, Dalton is here, right? Dalton is a young guy who is self-made, taught himself how to edit videos. I know when I was coming up, I was going on YouTube, looking up Adobe Premiere tutorials to figure out how to do anything from end credits to how to, you know, cut up videos and put effects in, and, you know, it's all out there for you. Don't be a slave to the negativity. Use the phone for you. Like, use the phone as a tool. So, you know, back to me growing up in my area. I don't know if you guys ever go like down the shore. I don't know if you guys vacation in the Jersey Shore area. Like, that's where I grew up. And the first thing that I did that let me know I was on the path to being what I became, when I was young, I played every sport. I played football, basketball, baseball. I was outside all day. Again, there were no phones to distract us. We didn't have these on us, so we went out to play. And I got pretty good at football when I was like 16. I was a junior or a sophomore going into my junior season, and someone said, you can be good enough at football that they'll pay for you to go to college. And at the time, I didn't even know what that meant. I was watching Michigan and Ohio State and, you know, Florida State, and not realizing that these guys playing for those schools were scholarship athletes. So me coming from a single parent household, a 2-bedroom apartment with 4 people, not much money, my mom making like $20,000 a year, she told me at 12 that she couldn't pay for me to go to college. But I used what I had, which was my athleticism, to get scholarships. The first scholarship offer I got was from Hofstra University. I ended up going to James Madison University and getting about 10 scholarships in between to play football. I was all-state quarterback in New Jersey, won the state championship my senior year. Now, I didn't make it to the NFL, and most people don't make it to the NFL, but each step of the way, I just maneuvered, right? You guys are gonna have dreams, you guys are gonna have things that you wanna do, and there's gonna be roadblocks. You're gonna have negative people in your life, you're gonna have skeptical people in your life, you're gonna have haters, but you gotta maneuver and figure out what's best for you. So, you know, the first thing I did when I was 16, and I got my first scholarship offer, that same season, I was calling our Little League Pop Warner football games, like, over the big speaker, or like, hello everybody, welcome to Albert F. Corelli Field at Ocean Township High School. Today, you know, I'm Keith McPherson calling your Pop Warner football games. And someone's dad came up and they said, you have a good voice. You should major in communication. I had no idea what that meant. Communication, major in communication. Like, yeah, when you go to school, you should major in communication. So when I did go to James Madison University, I was undeclared, but then I transferred back home to Monmouth University, and I became a communication major. Communication had public relations, but it also had radio and television. So on campus, I knew that I could be on the FM radio station and also be on the TV station. We had WMCX 88.9 FM, and we also had what was called Hawk TV. So I would do shows on the radio where I would interview people, I'd talk sports, I would DJ, I would rap, and then I'd also be on Hawk TV, which would be in the dorms, in the study halls, in the dining hall, where people would see me host music video shows or news shows. And I was sharpening my sword. I was working. But, you know, when I got to my 4th year in college, I was on scholarship. I hated playing football. I was on the bench. I was getting hurt. I just knew that I wasn't going to the NFL. So from there, I gave my scholarship back and I really locked in. I joined the radio club. I started DJing in the bars in the area. I started emceeing and knowing, like, this is the route that I'm gonna take. I graduate, there's nobody to help me. Luckily, some of you guys will have connections and people that'll take your resumes and put them on a stack of other resumes. For me, I had to get it out the mud. I had to grind. I had to figure it out. And so I kept going and doing little odd jobs, and I worked at a guitar center selling DJ equipment and doing little things like that, and it helped me. It helped me learn how to talk to people, right? Someone comes in, they want to buy some speakers, they want to buy a microphone, they want to buy 2 turntables, you got to sell it to them. So I did that for like not even a year. And using the phone again, I get a message from a girl at James Madison University who says, hey, we're doing auditions, right? She's in casting. She's working at MTV casting. She says, we're doing auditions for the 2014 MLB Fan Cave. She's like, when I see you, you always have a Yankee hat on. I remember you going to class with a Yankee hat on. All your posts, it seems like you're a big Yankee fan. Can you put together a 2-minute video of why you'd be great for the Fan Cave? Set up my phone, talked to the camera for 2 minutes, uploaded it on YouTube. And then I got embarrassed about it because back then I didn't have as much confidence. I sent it in, and once they reviewed it, I deleted it. I wish I still had that video right now, 10 years later, to show people what I look like. But I was embarrassed of my own voice and how I looked, and I deleted it once they saw it. They come back to me and they say, oh, you're in. Do you have any other friends like you that like baseball, that talk like you, that act like you? I'm like, I don't. But then I get in the Fan Cave and I make friends with, you know, people that are Mets fans, like my boy Dan Frankel, Red Sox fan, Dodgers fans, and those people are all family for me. And that was the first big thing I did in New York City, right down the street from NYU, 692 Broadway. I spent a season in the MLB Fan Cave watching all 2,430 regular season baseball games, creating content, meeting athletes, entertainers, and I knew that was the first thing on my resume after college. There was a TV show that they recorded every Tuesday called Off the Bat. Every Tuesday, MTV2 would come there. David Ortiz came through, CeCe Sabathia came through, and I knew right there, okay, this is MTV, like this is big, I'm on TV. And when I got out of the Fan Cave, I applied to jobs at MTV. I applied to a bunch of jobs. I was home with my mom. I was this close to working at Home Depot. It was February of 2014 or 2015. I was this close to working at Home Depot. I get a message from a girl at MTV2 to interview as a social media coordinator. Back then, social media was not what it was now, but I did enough on my phone building up my own social media where I could use that on my resume. I could use that to show who I am and what I did. I got that job at MTV. I worked there for 2.5 years, and my passion was still in sports. I wanted to go back to working in sports. So now that I had about 3 years on my resume, I just straight up quit that job with nothing lined up. Just left the job. I wasn't happy. I wasn't making enough money. I drove Lyft Uber for about a month. I hustled. I sold things on Craigslist. Sold my Jordans, my collector's items, Derek Jeter stuff, you know, old Yankee stuff, just to survive in New York and make it. And not long after that, I got a job at Fubo TV, which I don't know if you guys watch, you know, sports on Fubo TV. It's a streaming platform. I was the first guy that they hired in there to do social media. Now, at that time, I'm still not thinking I'm going to use my college degree and be on the radio and TV, but I'm in the city and I'm working in sports, so I'm happy. Jay-Z comes calling. I get a message from a girl at Rock Nation Sports saying, hey, would you like to come and work for us in our sports agency doing digital marketing? Of course, I take that job, and now I'm working with Todd Gurley and Leonard Fournette and Saquon Barkley, and I'm logging into these guys' Instagrams to post Gatorade ads and Under Armour for them. I'm in meetings with these guys. I'm going to the NBA draft in Brooklyn. I'm in the fold, but I'm unfulfilled because I'm working nonstop in the morning to night, and people start to rise in the Yankee universe like John Boy. You guys are familiar with John Boy and John Boy Media. I'm seeing John Boy in like 2017, 2018. I'm listening to Talking Yanks. I'm seeing his YouTube content, and I'm like, man, this guy's blowing up. And I had knew John Boy from Yankees Twitter years before. So I'm like, all right, I got to take a chance here. I quit this job. And so now I set out and I go buy a camera like Dalton has. I get a new MacBook, and I start vlogging my trips to Yankee Stadium. I start really leaning into sports. If there's a news story that breaks, I'm just practicing in my apartment, doing a take of, like, you know, I remember I had one that stuck. Ohtani won Rookie of the Year over Miguel Andujar, and I went on a rant about how Ohtani only played 2 months and how he didn't make the postseason. And, you know, I start to get noticed. I'm starting to bubble a little bit. The Yes Network comes. They invite me to a suite which had the top 10 Yankees creators in it. And then one of the producers from Yes Network is so impressed with me, he pitches me on a commercial called Fandom Acts of Kindness, where I'm running around New York City giving out Yankees gear, celebrating the Yankees going to the postseason in 2019. I just celebrated 5 years since then. But now it's happening for me. Now I'm becoming somebody in New York sports like I wanted to do, all through using social media, videos, the phone, and putting myself out there. That time passes. I do a podcast that, had thousands of downloads with Bronx Pinstripes talking about the Yankees for the 2019 season. They don't cut me any deals. I end up working with John Boy. John Boy brings me in, and I help build John Boy Media. I'm one of the first 10 people hired. John Boy launches his office in the Bronx. They start to blow up. I start the Talkin' Nets podcast. I'm doing the Pinstripe Strong podcast with Joe's McFly. They have investors and funders and people that really start to bring attention to us. And out of nowhere, the summer of 2021, there's a new program director at WFAN, and he asked if I'd like to try out for the Fan. I come in on a Wednesday night. The Mets lose to the Dodgers. They pulled Taijuan Walker out of the game. Mets fans are pissed off. They're calling the radio. And it's my first time ever being on the radio. I want to talk about the Yankees. I want to talk about the Brooklyn Nets and other things. But I start taking those calls, and I start reacting to the fans and actually doing the job. That time passes, and I'm thinking I'm one and done. I'll never get that opportunity again, but it was great. I don't hear from them right away. They come back and they tell me, you will be doing the nights. Steve Summers, the schmooze, he's retiring, and you're our new nighttime host. And the rest is history. Who we got coming in? You're good, man.
I'm Ariel. Nice to meet you.
Hey, this is the man with the plan. So speaking of using your phone, all he did was find my email on my Instagram or Twitter, send me a message and say, hey, would you like to speak at my high school? And what he didn't know is I was just at Fanatics Fest, and I was doing a live WFAN show, and Gary Vee joined my live WFAN show. You guys know Gary Vaynerchuk. You guys know Gary Vee, right? So Gary sits down with me, and he doesn't know that through my journey of quitting jobs and trying to become, I had been tweeting him, one day I'm gonna meet you. Yo, you're the man, you're so inspirational. The way that I'm talking to you guys, sharing my story, telling you that you could do it using your phone, not wasting time on nonsense, and, finding your way through social media, through the internet, teaching yourself things. Gary helped motivate me and inspire me to do that. So I just met with Gary and one of his guys that run Vayner Speaks, and I said, I want to start talking to kids and doing motivational speaking and telling my story. And he said, well, find a high school to go to and film it. And this guy was just right on time and suggested it, and I'm like, yeah, we just got to book a time and date. And here I am. So I'm glad that you're here now. I want to open it up for questions. Any of you guys to ask me anything from, growing up, high school, college, being on the Fan now, being on the radio, being in New York City, rubbing shoulders with athletes and famous people, and becoming somewhat famous myself. So, just raise your hand. I'll point to you and we'll go through it.
Are you still very involved with John Boy Media? Because I see they stream their reactions to the game.
Yeah.
And I see Joe's there. But are you involved in that space, or are you more off the camera?
So I am strictly on the radio at night, off the camera, talking to New York City.
Are you satisfied with your job at the Fan, or are you trying to move on? Are you trying to
Never be satisfied. Always be searching. Always be looking for more. If you're satisfied, that means you're arrived, right? That means you're good. And then you could be stuck somewhere where you live the same year over and over again. Never live the same year over and over again. There's more. We're human beings. We naturally evolve. You guys aren't going to look the same in 10 years. You're going to be taller. You're going to have muscles. You're going to have beards. So you shouldn't be doing the same thing. So if I was to say I'm satisfied at WFAN, I'm not. I do the nighttime show. I'd rather have a daytime show. I'm on my second contract. I'd like to make more money, but you got to work for it. You got to earn it. Evolve or dissolve. I've been on television. I've been on MLB Network, Yes Network. I've done NBC with Bruce Beck. I've done a lot of different things, and I know that I'll continue to do more. So no, I won't say I'm satisfied. I woke up today after going to sleep last night at, 1, 2 a.m., and I just have the hunger and desire to give back and connect with you guys, and that's not being satisfied. I could have slept in, and instead I drove up to SAR High School to be in front of you guys. So good question.
We've all been seeing, at least we saw on Monday night, you got to post some stuff on Twitter. You get haters and stuff, so also you're known sometimes for your hot takes. So
yeah.
How do you kind of deal with people getting on you and stuff like that?
Yeah, that's the main crux of what I was talking about in my notes, man. There's gonna be haters, and what I'm learning is You know, I was telling a story about driving Lyft, Uber, and being broke and like selling my sneakers and stuff. Nobody was hating on me then. Nobody was checking for me then. Nobody cared who I was then. Even people in my own family and friends, nobody was texting my phone. Now every day, I gotta tell people stop texting me. My phone blows up every day. Now I open up Twitter and Instagram. I have people that don't know me that are like, this guy sucks, this guy's terrible, this guy's a diversity hire, which doesn't make any sense. This guy, you know, like think about that, right? I didn't even hear about the term DEI until I got to the Fan, but people are saying that I'm only hired because I'm black. Well, where are the rest of the black people? If I'm the only one because it's a diversity thing, like checking off a box, then why aren't there more? People will try to say things like that. Like there's people that are gonna look at you guys because you're Jewish and they're gonna see you might have money or you might have privilege, you might have things, and they might try to say that you're something that you're not. They might try to discredit you, but those are stereotypes. You gotta break the stereotypes and misinformation. So how do I deal with it? I've kind of become immune to it, and I understand it comes with the territory, and I think back to times when nobody cared about who I was, and it was quiet for me, and my phone didn't have haters. I didn't have random anonymous people, and remember that too. Most of the people that are negative and hating, even these people putting out anti-Semitic stuff, like those protesters showed up and didn't show their faces. They're cowards. Like, there are people out there on October 7th hiding their faces but writing terrible things on a banner and marching around, but they don't want to be seen. So what does that say? Those people don't matter. They're not important.
How old were you when you got your first phone and like started doing social media?
So the phone that I when I was 13, I got a Nokia phone, which I don't think Nokia makes phones anymore. Only thing I could do on it was play Snake video game and text people. I used to text this girl, Joy, that lived a couple towns over because I couldn't go outside and walk to her house. So I would be texting her at night, like trying to riz her up and like meet her at the movie theater. Like that's all I could do on the phone. There was no internet. You know, these iPhones, I didn't get an iPhone until like 2010, 2011 when I was like 22, 23. And then I really started to see like, okay, I had a DJ company. And so what I would do was, you know, anytime I was DJing at a bar, or I've done some bar mitzvahs, I've DJed the strip club, I've done everything. I would use social media to be like, hey, here's where I'm DJing tonight, put the flyer out, send it to a bunch of people, and really just start to use it as a free promotional tool.
I heard you talk about how like at first you were only a Yankees fan, you didn't really want to talk about other stuff. And also I've heard you on the radio talk about like learning about hockey and other sports that you didn't really used to like. So what was it like kind of learning about those other sports because you have to talk about them?
Yeah, so like if you want to be good at something, you can't stop yourself from being good. I just said we're human beings, we evolve or dissolve. If you don't evolve, you're gonna disappear. Like if you don't become, somebody else is gonna do it better than you, or someone's gonna take your spot. So for me, right, I came in just with my Yankee bravado. I'm a Yankee fan, that's how I got here. This is the Yankee radio network, WFAN, the Fan in New York. But then I realized, oh, I gotta watch all of these Mets games. I gotta know all of these players and even learn some of the history of the Mets because this is New York, we share the station. So I really leaned into it. I give Steve Summers a lot of credit. Steve Summers has been a mentor of mine. He's been somebody that's been in my corner. And having conversations with him, you know, he really told me like, hey man, if you want to be good, if you want to grow and be big, you got to be able to talk about the Mets. And then even with hockey, you know, going back to haters, I remember there was this lady that wrote on Facebook. When I came in, I said, I don't watch hockey. Not for nothing, black dudes are not really like watching hockey. Like none of my cousins watch hockey. In the black community, nobody's like, yo, let's go see the Rangers. But like being on the Fan, I knew that I had to tap in. And there was this lady who wrote on Facebook, since he doesn't like hockey, I won't be tuning in. I took that on as a challenge. I'll be at the Devils season opener tomorrow night. Like, I get first class treatment with the Devils. The first time I showed up there, they had me on the ice, on the Zamboni, on the big screen in VIP. And now I'm like, you know, one of the like more popular Devils fans, and I love the game. Once I started going to the games, I'm like, oh, it's cold in here. I like this. Then I'm like, you know, I'm not following the camera around. I'm using my eyes to follow the puck, and I'm seeing everything. I'm seeing how these guys skate and come together. I'm seeing the hits, and I'm like, this is sick. I'm like, this is way different than watching on TV. And, you know, the more you know. I learned about the Jewish Indoor Hockey League. You guys know Eitan the goalie, Eitan Levine. He's a comedian on TikTok. I had him on my show one night, and somehow we get to talking about the Jewish Indoor Hockey League. I text him. What did he say? I told him I was here today. He said, no way, my cousin went there. He said they have a full professional indoor hockey rink with boards. You guys have a hockey rink in here? Yeah, I got to tell him about that. Anybody else?
During the night you're at the radio, what do you do during the day?
Oh man, so I have a son who's 1.5 years. He's crazy. He takes a lot of dumps. He eats garbage off the ground. He runs into things. He cries. He kicks and screams. He scratches me in the face. So I have a nanny, but there's a lot of times that I'm with him during the day. But man, during the day I can't waste an hour because I wake up around 10, 11 to get going, and I got to read articles. I have Google alerts set up for the New York Knicks, the Rangers, the Islanders, the Devils, all of the teams in New York. You got to know Rob Saleh got fired, and you got to know all the ins and outs of Nathaniel Hackett was going to get fired. Then this happened. Then Woody Johnson spoke to me because you're the one person on the mic at night when someone calls that has to be, you know, aware of this to host the show. You can't be on the mic and be like, oh, I don't know. So during the day, I'm researching. During the day, I'm watching Sports Center. I'm watching FS1. And a lot of times, I'm listening to the fan. A lot of times, I'm listening to what the guys on before me do. And I'm listening to their takes. And I'm writing out my counter takes. Or I'm writing out how I want to approach the subject. You know, you can't just lay around all day. You can't really do anything else. And not for nothing, like, I'm getting to a point where, like, this is what I'm doing today, right? So like today is a perfect example. I'm getting up, I'm driving up here to speak with you guys. I'm gonna go home. I'll probably go to the gym, nap, get up, start preparing my show notes, which like my show notes are endless every day. I use the Notes app. And then I gotta go into the city for a watch party at American Whiskey. The Yankees play at 7. I might go earlier to watch the Mets. Like the Mets play before the Yankees, and the city's going to be turned up because there's going to be Mets fans going to Queens, going to the bars. There's going to be Yankee fans going to the bars. I'm hosting a watch party with Dylan Betances. I got to be ready to shake hands and take selfies. And then after that, I'm going to drive to the station, host the show, drive home, and go to sleep at 3 a.m. and start it all over again. So, yeah.
So as someone who, you haven't always been in radio, but like you've also been in sports before that, like what do you recommend to us who don't necessarily know what we want to be in sports, but we know we want to work in sports? Yeah,
just try everything, right? I will say I tried a lot of different things. Like how Dalton is filming me right now, I've done that for other people. I learned how to edit videos. The more things that you learn, the more things that you'll know, like, you know, you have a passion for. You'll feel it right away. You'll know, like not everybody's cut out to be on the mic, not everybody's cut out to be in front of the camera, but all of that stuff is done by a team of people in the background. Every WFAN show has a producer, there's an update guy, there's guys in the newsroom cutting tape, they're listening to Carlos Mendoza, you know what I'm saying? They're listening to the post game and they're cutting that up and they're sending that to me, Sean Mania, you know, letting people know, hey, I lost my aunt. And that's why after the game, I dedicated that to her. Hey, send that in to Keith. Tell Keith to talk about that. Like, you know, there's so many things now in the sports world, digitally too, that you can do. I mean, you guys might be agents. You guys might be lawyers. You guys might be high-ranking officials and stuff. Like, you don't have to be an athlete. You don't have to be an entertainer. For me, someone that, like I, you know, told my story about playing football young, I thought I could potentially make it to the NFL. Once I got into college, and I'm like, nah, I'm playing with guys that are like, they're bigger, faster, stronger. They're really NFL guys. I had to lock in and focus on what I wanted to do. But, you know, before I got to the radio, I was doing social media, digital marketing. I was doing copywriting. I was figuring out, you know, what to post to promote MTV Catfish or Wild 'N Out or Guy Code and Fubo TV, how to get people to, you know, do a 7-day trial of Fubo TV. Rock Nation, I told you guys I'm logging into Todd Gurley's Instagram. I'm seeing how many models he's DMing. Like, you know, there's different ways to kind of make your way in the city or anywhere, you know.
When you were moving from like job to job, did you ever like wonder if like you wouldn't get a next job?
Yeah, there were times I cried. There were times I thought I ruined my career. There were times I thought I blew it. But like, God will test you like that, right? And there's a lot of people that quit on themselves. And there's a lot of people that see me now and they're like, you're lucky. And I'm like, I wasn't lucky. I wasn't always lucky. I wasn't lucky picking up random strangers doing 700 Lyft Uber rides. I wasn't lucky standing at a hostess desk, you know, seating 4 people at a table and handing out menus. I wasn't lucky meeting strangers in the ShopRite parking lot to sell my Jordan 12s. Like, I just had to hustle, I had to grind. And you gotta have this like internal belief in yourself and faith in God that like, this is not it for me, right? You don't know what the future holds. You just gotta like trust that God has a plan for you, and what you're going through is taking you to that ultimate goal. So I always knew like, yeah, when I quit these jobs, my wife, she's like, you're crazy. How do you quit a job? How do you quit the job that is paying you, that like is relying? I'm like, I wasn't feeling it. I had this feeling in my gut that there was more for me. I had this feeling in my gut that I could do better. And so I would take that risk. Like, if you don't take risks in life, you're just gonna do the same thing. So yeah, I wasn't afraid to lose. You know, I had people make fun of me. I remember, you know, going live and like starting, and I had like 4 people in my live, and guys I went to high school with roasting me like, you think you're something you're not, nobody's watching your stuff, you're whack, you need to give it up. And I just kept going.
So you're on at night, and like the nighttime guys get some like whack callers. Like one time I saw like a few months ago, McMonagle got a guy and he was like, trade Juan Soto for Vlad Guerrero, and you know McMonagle flipped out. But then also, you know, some of the daytime guys, they just let him go. What's your kind of... So
when I'm on, I call it loopy on the late night. You guys don't even know some of the calls that come in. The phone is lighting up and my producer is my first line of defense. And sometimes he'll be taking the call and he'll hang up on people. Sometimes he'll be taking the call and look at me through the glass like, bro, what is going on? We're in New York. There is every type of creature and character in this city. And when it comes to sports, there are fanatical fans. And some of them are trolling, but some of them are actually calling up and like, you know, for me, I try to give people time. That's something I'm actually known for. They're like, you give people too much time. But what I do that for is because I remember calling the fan and never getting on. And I remember sitting on hold and not getting on. So as I'm looking at the call sheet and people are popping up and they're waiting, I try to at least give them their, you know, a couple minutes because they just waited for an hour. But yeah, as far as the crazy calls, dude, you can fall into that stuff. You gotta always take the high ground. I had this guy call and berate me one night. It made the New York Post. It made awful announcing. This guy's like, "You're a crybaby. You do this and this and this and this." And I mocked his voice. I imitated him. I went low. You can never go low. As soon as you go low, someone's gonna be like, "You're in a position of power. You're in the power chair. You're famous. You got to be better." So yeah, it's like literally talking to strangers all night. You never know what's coming through that phone, but you just got to always be prepared. Anyone that didn't ask a question, and then we'll go around. I'm not going anywhere yet. Go for it, bro.
Have you ever gotten a big business opportunity, like a lot of money or something big, and declined it because of like what you believe in?
Yeah, and that's going to happen a lot. And now I'm actually starting to get those things like, and there are more coming, but like, you can't sell out. Right? Like, never do something. And like you guys are Jewish guys, bro. You got to do your research before you work with a company or endorse somebody or sign somebody. Like, because there's a lot of people that have anti-Semitic history or things that they put out there, and you just got to be careful. It's the same thing being black. You don't ever want to sign with anybody that's racist or put some stuff out there against your people, against your family. Like, that stuff will trip you up later. That's the type of stuff you don't want to do. But as far as I'm concerned now, like, I've had some opportunities to do things where they either wanted me to sell out, betray who I'm with now, but it's starting to get that big for me now. I'm sure there's going to be some more, but for the most part, like, I know right away. I vet things out. You know, I have made a mistake or two here signing with some people and doing things, but like, through the grace of God, like, I feel protected. I feel like God covers me. I feel like, you know, I haven't fallen into anything yet. So nothing crazy yet, but yeah, you always got to do your research, man. Know who you're dealing with. And don't sign your name on anything, and never sell out to do something with somebody that like might not have your best interest.
Thank you.
Yeah, yo.
I got detention.
You got detention? Oh man, that just took me back, dude. I used to stay in central detention. I hated it. I used to sneak out of detention, get another detention. We had demerits in our school where there was like a point system where like, you rack up a certain amount of points, you got to go to in-school suspension or you got to go to like a weekend detention. I did not miss that. You guys got to lock in, get your grades, listen to these teachers, don't be bad. You don't want that stuff going back to your parents. Detention is the worst. So anybody else. I don't want to keep you guys too long. I know we're going to like 12:30, so go for it.
How did you manage to watch Game 3 behind the pole?
So this is something else I got to tell you guys. Like, Twitter is a cesspool. Like I was talking about how like there's so much misinformation, like anti-Semitic stuff. Even talking to Eitan Levine, he sent me an article. He's like, there's an article floating around right now talking about how Elon Musk's Twitter, and I'll read it. It's like, the attacks, which include wild claims that Jewish officials are conspiring to orchestrate the disasters, sabotage the recovery, or even seize victims' property, are being fomented largely on Elon Musk's X. Anti-Semitic tropes, there's a bunch of false rumors and conspiracy theories going on. Like, Twitter is a fake space. People take it as real life. People will put anything out there and hope that people believe it. There's a lot of BS going on right now with the hurricane. They're trying to help people, and there's misinformation out there. Even with the protests on Monday, there's misinformation out there. So you asked me about my seat. It was just a good post. Like, the Saturday game, I tweeted out something like, yo, I've been in three different seats and kicked out of 2 sections. And people thought that like security was physically pulling me out of the section. People don't realize I know the security guards in Yankee Stadium. I've been to hundreds of games. Like, I dap security up. I know them by first name. And if I don't know them, they know me. Security has never thrown me out of the seat, but people run with information on Twitter. So people were saying like, yo, why are you sitting in other people's seats? And like, these are expensive seats. People are very territorial. Like, imagine the seat you're sitting in right now. You go to the bathroom, but you paid $500 for that seat. You come back, I'm sitting in your seat. You probably want to fight me. I wasn't doing that, but people thought that's what I was doing. So when you saw my post, that was Monday. I actually was sitting with Major League Baseball, and we had a whole back row of seats in 232. And I thought it would be funny to follow up and be like, here's my seat tonight. And it got a bunch of retweets and like 2,000 likes. And like, really, like, I'm credentialed media, so I can enter gate 2, no line. I have multiple tickets where I'm in Legends eating sushi. And like, if you guys look at my Instagram from Saturday, like, I'm right on the field level. I was with, you guys know Lil Mo, like, how you doing? You're like, I was with Lil Mo, A Boogie, CC Sabathia. Like, I'm in, and people are thinking I'm stealing people's seats. I'm in the nice seats. Like, I'm a Z-list celebrity. So yeah, don't ever read into my Twitter, because I'm a troll. I'm trolling all the time. I'm always putting stuff out to confuse people. I'm walking in today, I saw that mural outside, and I'm just doing stuff to throw people off. I don't know if you guys can see my phone, but you guys know the mural outside. I posted this just so people could be like, what the hell is Keith doing?
What is that?
It's, there's a mural outside. I just thought it was a cool look. And
Oh yeah, by the
yeah, if you know, you know. But like, people are probably like, what does this mean? Is Keith standing with the Jews? Yeah, I guess I am. You know? But like, people will take that and run with it. Twitter is a fake space. It's not real. So I don't take it for real. Like, I don't treat it like it's reality. In reality, I'm physically in front of you. I'm not on Twitter. In reality, you'll go tell someone you met me today, and someone's gonna be like, that guy sucks. And you're gonna be like, nah, actually, it was pretty cool. So yeah.
How's it going from like the bottom, from like selling shoes to like where you are now?
Oh, it's crazy, because there's levels to everything. And like, you know, even like being here, I'm trying to give back. I can't financially like donate to the school, but I'm giving you guys my time, because I remember when I was a kid, I wanted somebody to talk to. Like, I wanted to hear from somebody that made it. I wanted to hear. So like, for me, going from nothing to something, it fills my heart with joy. I pray even harder now. Like it's amazing. To go from struggling and having people doubt you, like, the greatest revenge is your success. There are people that see me now, they can't look me in the eye. There are people that see me now and they can't believe it, because when I was down, they roasted me, they shitted on me, and they thought that I was stuck there. And now that I'm rising, they're like, can't believe it. So yeah, just like, and that's what I'm telling you guys. You guys are young. There's gonna be times where you hate life. There's gonna be times where you're not winning, you're losing, you're striking out. But that's not finite. That's not forever. Just keep going, keep pushing through.
Have you ever had, like, I think you mentioned it with, like, after Robert Saleh got fired, do you have, like, athletes or GMs or owners calling you and being like trying to control, like want you to say a certain thing about them? You're on the radio?
Off the record. We call that off the record. I don't even know what to say about that. I have some athlete friends that will text me things, but no one can influence my show. Nobody ever tries to influence my show. I sit with some Yankee officials, like people have seen me with Brian Cashman. I've been with Aaron Boone. I've been with Lon Trost, Randy Levine, but they even know they can't influence my show. I try to stay authentic and true to myself, and when I go on air, I just let it rip. And I don't worry about people's feelings or emotions. It's about my feelings and my emotions. What I tell people all the time is that mic tells the truth. Imagine being on a microphone that the whole city could hear, and that even if they don't hear it live, it gets recorded and it gets sent around. So you can't let other people influence you. You can't that's me. Some other people might have that, don't get me wrong. Some other people might have someone in their ear like that, but I'm at a level where like, no one tries to do that, and even the athletes and important people that I know, they know not to be like, yo, can you do this? Can you say this? But I have learned some things off the record that it's always hard to be like, yo, don't say what Cashman said. Like, that's off the record, like leave that out of your notes, or even put a note to be like, yo, what he said to you in the suite on, May 18th, like don't bring that to the radio.
Do you remember having one tape that people just like went off on you?
Oh, I've got a bunch of them. What's your name, bro?
John.
So, no, sorry. I was speaking with him about Sal Licata and the Mets fans 2 years ago when the Subway Series happened in Citi Field. I went to the games, and I got on the air, and I was just like, who cares? They're regular season games in June. They might as well be exhibition games to us. I'm like, you Met fans are acting like you won the World Series. Yankee fans don't care. That blew up. Sal Licata calls my show. What's the guy from Barstool? KFC Barstool goes on a whole rant, and like that blows up on Mets Twitter. They're like, this guy's a loser. He's got a loser mentality. He said these games don't matter. And then I knew, because I know the internet, I worked in social media for MTV, for Rock Nation, for Fubo TV, this is what I did. I'm like, when we play in the Bronx, I'm gonna have the last laugh. So again, I'm in Legends where I see A Boogie and Lil Mo, and Steve Cohen is like a couple seats away from me. So I take a picture with Steve Cohen, thumbs up, I gotta find that picture. And I'm leaning into it now. And the Yankees sweep and win those 2 games, and I celebrated it like we won the World Series. And Mets fans were so pissed seeing me run through Yankee Stadium, start spreading the news. They're like, now it matters? Now it's not exhibition? I'm like, I'm just playing the game, guys. It's all entertainment, it's all fun and games. So, yeah.
I don't want to hold you here too long, so just let me know if you got time for a few more questions.
Yeah, I got time. It's I think we said 11:45 to 12:45. It's 12:31, and I'll answer all questions. I'm not in a rush. Go for it in the back.
So when I've like argued with people about sports, sometimes I say like an opinion, and then like 5 seconds later, I realize that was a stupid thing to say, but I stick with it anyway, just to
try and win the argument.
Does that ever happen? Like when you make an argument with someone, or you say something, and you're like, well, maybe that was wrong, but you just run with it anyway?
No, cause like, have a good one, guys. Hey, good meeting you guys.
Gotta go to the game.
Yeah, you guys gotta go to the game. Have fun. I'm gonna get a "Let's Go Mets" and "Let's Go Yankees" chant when I'm done. We gotta break into like Mets fans, Yankee fans, and get "Let's Go Mets, let's go Yankees." On the radio, you got to stay with your opinions and takes. You'll get roasted. You'll look like an idiot. But I have been in conversations with friends, and that's the whole thing. Embrace the debate. Like somebody could be like, they should have traded Pete Alonso. And then you think about it, well, now that sounds stupid. But if they give you facts about why would you trade Pete Alonso? He's having a down year. Like, who's going to want Pete Alonso? We can actually get Pete Alonso for a lower rate because he had a down year. He's ours. He's homegrown. He doesn't want to go anywhere else. And then you might come back around like, yeah, maybe they shouldn't trade Pete Alonso. We need him to play first base. He might do well in the playoffs. Then the playoffs come around and he's starting to do well. So, yeah. That's it for questions. 2 more.
How you feel about Clark Schmidt tonight?
Clark, I think, is ready for the moment. He's pitched in the postseason. He's come out of the bullpen. He's got nasty stuff. And what I like about him and Lugo both, they have like 5 pitches in their arsenal. So I think that those guys mixing it up, their pitch mix is going to keep guys off balance. I think we're going to have a good game, and I think Clark is ready for it. I'm praying that Aaron Judge and Juan Soto and these guys hit. I'm not even worried about the pitching. It's about the hitting.
The bullpen's been great, but we just need the bats.
Yeah, they emptied the bullpen last. I'm like, why would you show them? Every guy we got in the bullpen it is what it is. We took the L, but tonight is a big night for Mets and the Yankees.
So I mean, I know you're a bleacher creature. Me and him love to sit there every once in a while, but so like, can you talk a little bit about like how you bring that kind of outside stuff into your radio life? Because you're more than just like a radio host, and like that's the reason why I reached out to you and not anyone else. Because like, you kind of make yourself seem like you're not just on the radio, you're elsewhere.
No, I'm not. So what I'll say is, when I was telling you guys I was working in the city at MTV doing social media and stuff, I would get out of work. I'm from the shore. I grew up in Monmouth County in Deal, this Jewish community. I would text people to come up to the city to go to the game with me. Yo, I got tickets, you want to go to the game? They're like, nah, it's too far. I don't want to take the train. I don't want to take the bus. So I started going by myself to Yankee Stadium. I was working in Times Square where I could get to Yankee Stadium in 30 minutes on the D train, B train. The most poppin' spot was 203. That's where they're doing the roll call. That's where everybody's, high-fiving and throwing beer and popcorn. So I was just, sitting around, and next thing you know, you see some of the same people, and then I started going to 20 games a year, 30 games a year. Then I actually meet the creatures, and I realize it's a whole family and like fraternity, and they meet up for birthdays and barbecues and do a Christmas party, and like, I became one of the actual bleacher creatures to the point where, like, I have led the roll call, like, hey, yo, Aaron Judge. Like, I'm the one leading it. And then at the same time, when I sat in for Susan Waldman calling the Yankee game, they chanted, Keith McPherson. Keith McPherson. I'm like, I'm hearing it in my headphones. I'm looking at the section. I'm like about to cry. So it's a real thing, because I put in the games and the time with these guys. They didn't know what I did. They didn't care what my job was. And they didn't know I had a radio degree. When I ended up getting on the radio, they're like, holy, like, what? And I'm like, now I bring that to the radio station. Like, if you guys follow my Instagram and Twitter tonight, you're gonna see the bar that we're at. Probably 50 Bleacher Creatures and Terror Squad members are gonna show up to that bar. And those aren't people that care about my radio show. Those are people that met me in 2016, 17, 18, 19. 20, we had the pandemic, we couldn't get in the stadium. 21, when the season started, I wasn't on the fan yet, but I was in the section. That's real life. That's just like the grace of God. I always say the universe never unconnects. I was meant to go to the stadium by myself and meet these people, so that when I actually reached the radio, I had the support of the real fans. Yeah.
As a Nets fan, how do you feel about the McPherson Brand trade?
Are you a Nets fan? So, how many times did you watch Mikal Bridges and be like, this guy's not good enough. This isn't what we thought we were getting. At first, he was good. At first, we thought he was like KD. His mid-range game, hitting corner threes. I'm like, there was a stretch where he was scoring 30 points a game where I was like, yo, this is like a baby KD. He even had that video where they're like, who's your favorite player growing up? He said KD. But like last year, you could tell he was frustrated. You could tell he couldn't carry the load. He couldn't be a number one. And Cam Thomas started to emerge where you're like, that's the leading scorer. That's the guy who should be leading the way. They passed on trading him at the trade deadline where I was like, yo, what are y'all doing, man? I thought Sean Marks was so stuck on making Mikal Bridges, Brooklyn Bridges. I'm like, this is nuts. Like, you're like, the Houston Rockets will give up X amount of picks for him. Trade him. So Subway Series happens in Queens this year. I drive back from Citi Field. I park my car at WFA and I get an alert. The Brooklyn Nets have traded Mikal Bridges to the New York Knicks for X amount of picks. Yo, let's go. I didn't think that could happen. I was elated because two reasons. Mikal Bridges wasn't the right fit, and I thought that he didn't have the value that we got. And then two, now we have some picks. We traded all our picks and stuff away, getting James Harden and doing all the nonsense with KD and Kyrie. We didn't have a future. Now we have a future in draft picks, and it's directly tied to the New York Knicks. It's going to reinvigorate the rivalry in the city between the Brooklyn Nets and the New York Knicks in about 5 years. If the Knicks don't win it in the next 5 years, the tables are going to turn, and it's going to be back in Brooklyn. The Nets are going to come back. Mark my words on it.
I had a hot take that if the Knicks don't win a championship soon, it's the worst trade movie in history.
It will be, and all of this will be. Like, even they just got Karl Anthony Towns. They broke up the Villanova Wildcats. They got rid of Julius Randle. You're never going to get to see what you saw in January of last year. How good was that Knicks team when they traded for OG, had Randle, had Brunson, had all those guys healthy? They didn't lose. It was like they could beat anybody. Then obviously they got hurt, and so people were thinking, yo, they got to run it back with Hart and DiVincenzo and these guys. You'll never get to see that. Now you have a completely different team. with Karl Anthony Towns, with OG, with Mikal Bridges, with Brunson, and you got to see how they gel together and how they compete. The East is going to be better this year. Giannis is back, and Dame isn't hurt. Giannis and Dame were hurt last year. The Bucks are going to be back. The Celtics are pissed off. Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum didn't, Brown didn't get to go to the Olympics. Tatum didn't get to play in the Olympics. They took that personally, and they're running it back. They won the whole thing. They have the same team. Porzingis, I don't want to turn this into NBA countdown, but we can.
Wouldn't you say that? I mean, like, obviously every trade that's like a win now move, you're trying to win a championship in any sport. Wouldn't, by that logic, saying that the Knicks, I'm not a Knicks fan, I'm a Heat fan, I'm not like advocating for them, but by saying like, oh, if the Knicks don't win a championship, it's the worst trade in history, I feel like.
Well, that was his take.
Oh, okay.
But like, I didn't disagree.
You're like kind of agreeing.
It's yet to be seen. It could be, because you know what? Mikal Bridges is not an all-star. You gave up an all-star type return for Mikal Bridges, assuming that he was the last Infinity Stone, he was the 7th Dragon Ball, like assuming that he was the last piece of the collector set that's going to make you valuable. Well, let's see. Let's see now. Philly is better. The Pacers knocked you out last year. The Cavs are going to be ready to go too. Like the East has got some teams.
My point is more that like I feel like there's so many trades that would be like, oh, that's the worst trade ever. Like he traded for Jimmy Butler. They haven't won a chip, but they've been still like
they've been successful.
As successful as you can be without a chip. I mean, like if the Sixers don't win a chip with Paul George.
This is New York, bro. The Knicks have never had this type of energy, hype, and fans like these young fans like you guys that can go to the Garden. Like Knicks fans, when they lost to the Pacers, are outside chanting, "Knicks in 8. Knicks in 8. There's no 8-game series. You guys are out, done. But like Knicks fans are apologizing for the team. Oh, we got hurt. We got hurt. That's part of the game. Let's see. Let's see. It could be a really bad trade if the Knicks don't even like. I have a viral video going out right now with my guy Alex Day, where we're at Fanatics Fest, and I'm like, I don't even think the Knicks make the Eastern Conference Finals. So every time I open up my Instagram, people are hating on me. They're hating on my fit. They're hating on everything I said. They're like, this guy doesn't know ball. This guy sucks. But like, if they don't make the Eastern Conference Finals, that video is gonna slap. That video is gonna bang even harder in June.